All right. We are live. Okay. Welcome back to Arrowhead PM. We are kind of having a fun little show here. We got DG with us, Obi. We got Corey. We got Max. Thanks for joining us today, Obi. Today's schedule is going to be a little fluid. We're going to talk about the rules, the rule changes for the NFL. We are going to talk about the new kickoff alignment and how we think that's going to affect the NFL. We're going to talk about the offseason schedule for the Chiefs. We're going to talk about a little bit of Rice. Rice got some footage out there of him working on his route running, so that's kind of cool. And of course, the news about the international player Reese Zamet coming in, and where do we think he's going to fit in? So stick around. We'll see you on the other side. All right, we're back. We are back. We are going to hit this running real quick with the NFL rules. The NFL made a bunch of rule changes, a lot that we like and some that we were kind of like, what? Really? So we're going to go through some of those rules real quick and kind of hit on those and get everybody's opinions on that, kind of talk about it. And so, you guys out there can kind of have a little bit more understanding. If you haven't seen the rule changes, well, then you came to the right place because we are going to check it out. So let me get this pulled up here. These are the rules, new rules for the NFL season of 2024. Let me see if I'm going to. So why don't you guys go ahead and talk to me a little bit about some of these rules that we talked about in the space on Arrowhead AM. Which ones do you guys like and which ones do you guys really not like?
Well, I'll start with one that I really did like. The fact that they pushed the trade deadline back to week 9. Now that we are at an 18-week schedule, I think that's appropriate.
Right.
Obviously, the worst rule is the hip drop tackle rule. So don't know how
you don't like that one.
How are they going to regulate it? Like
It's
I just feel like it's really going to ruin games. It's going to be a game that's probably going to be a crucial, pivotal game. That's that rule is going to come into effect and it's going to cost the team.
Yeah.
I really think the NFL just has to realize, like, it's a violent sport, man. Guys are gonna get it. Like, it just is what it is. I hate the fact that they just won't wake up and realize that. Like, I understand there's certain rules, to protect quarterbacks and things of that nature. Headgear, stuff like that. But like, this is one of those rules I just feel like it's pointless to put in the game. Like, you're asking guys to alter their game. Well, defenders pretty much to alter their game completely.
Right.
Especially the DBs,
yeah. And like, now you're gonna see. I guarantee you're gonna see a lot more missed tackles because guys are gonna be trying to, tackle in space and thinking about the rule, or whatever, not wanting to get an penalty or anything like that. So it just, to me, I don't like it because it, like Christy said, it confuses the players. It makes them have to alter their game now, and it's going to ruin games.
Yeah. What's your guys' feeling on it? The other ones, Obi, Corey, Max.
Yeah, for me, I go ahead. Go ahead, Corey. You go, and then I'll go.
I like it, and I don't like it. It'll get back to old school football where you have to tackle somebody and tackle through them. But the question is, how are you going to call it? What's going to be clear and definitive when it comes to it with the intent of doing it? And, I mean, I like old school physical football. When you go to tackle somebody, you drive through them instead of trying to jump on their back or twist to pull them down. I do agree that can cause injuries. And old school football, you didn't see a lot of these broken ankles from that type of tackle because people were taught to drive through a person. But the problem with it for me is, how are they going to call it? And is it going to be anything close to it to where it's going to be a ticky-tacky penalty, or is it going to have to be something that's clear and obvious? Like, I don't think we'll really know until we see how they call it, which direction it's going to go. But I'm all for the sport being what it is. It's a physical sport, hard-hitting sport. It makes it a lot harder when you start limiting things like that. So it could go either way. It could help player safety out with the twisting to tackle somebody from behind. I think that may be the key aspect of it, where if you hit them from the side, the twisting motion to kind of roll up on their backside, that I think that's what they're going to be looking for. I'm okay with that part. But if it's just a tackle from behind where you just fall on the back of their legs, as long as they don't get into the area where they're calling that, I'm pretty okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I worry. I mean, I really worry about how are they going to call it. I wish they wouldn't have put the rule in, because now, I mean, like, they didn't even show the Patrick Mahomes play that hurt his ankle, but they showed the one where I think it was Justin Reed tackled Tyler Boyd in the meeting. You guys remember that part?
Yeah.
And to me, it was like, you're not going to show the face of the NFL getting hurt by that tackle. It should not happen from behind. I feel like that's the only way they should have done it, is no hip drop tackles from behind. Like, that's where players get hurt, when they're not seeing the guy and they're not bracing for the guy to kind of pull them down from their back. Does that make sense? It's almost like they don't expect someone to be pulling them down, so they're trying to run forward, and that's how the injury happens. I feel like if you're just grabbing someone around the waist and then you're dropping to tackle, like, that's a tackle. Like, to me, there's no difference. And I can just see the first game of the season, somebody losing because of this rule being implemented.
Yeah, I mean, I can second everything you guys are saying. I'm sure if anyone see my Twitter, they all know I'm not a fan of it. Again, you're just taking so many things away from the game, not only just from the game, but from the defensive side of the ball. Like, just in the last 5 years, we've had pass interference reviewable and then removed again, so that now you can't review it. Roughing the passer exaggerated, and now this. It's like defenders are to the point where it's like, how do we even make a play anymore? What can we do and what can't we do? Because part of it is the offense needs to protect their guys. It's not just on the defense. The defense is there to hit you. The defense is there to hurt you. Like, I know that sounds weird for some of us to hear, but it's a physical sport. That's what the defenders are made to do. They're made to stop you. And sometimes to stop you, it means that, yeah, you're going to get hit. So I don't like it. I just think it takes physicality away from the game. I know some of the players like it. Some of the players don't like it.
I think the real reason, Max, I feel like they put it in there was because the defense finally stopped the offense. I think it was a record low this year. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah,
record low in points. And then they're like, okay, let's hurt the defense again.
It went down from 49 points per game to 49 or to 42.5. So went down 6.5 points per game. So one touchdown basically per game. It went down. But yeah, I don't know. It just takes the physicality away from the game. I know some players liked it, some didn't. If we can't even regulate roughing the passer, how are we going to regulate this, especially without review? That's my thing, is that this is unreviewable as well. So, this is easy to get screwed over on either side. And I'm sure all of us as Chiefs fans are just waiting for it to happen to us, and then Twitter to go crazy about it. So, I'm not a fan of it.
So, have those extra officials up in the booth. I think every penalty should be able to have a quick replay like that in the booth to say, okay, yeah, I mean, how many times have we seen it like that's not a flag? And we watch 5 replays, and it's like, there's no way that's a flag.
Yeah, we've got to use technology to speed this up. Like, at some point, it's going to happen where they're going to be like, okay, the referees on the field are really just the first line of defense. And, 10 people in New York. Sorry about my screen here. But, yeah, if you put it into New York's hand for those things, I think it would be okay for them to be like, okay, this is not a hip drop. We just watched it 4 times, and the referees are still talking, and that way they can call it.
Yeah. Well, if you guys are watching on X, or if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and post in the comments. What do you guys think about the hip drop new rule? How do you think it's going to affect the game? What's your opinion on it? Go ahead and drop some comments on there, and we'll get to them and we'll talk about them. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to read through some of these real quick. Some of these ones I think that are kind of interesting, that I think that are going to make some impacts in the game. So Rule 15, Section 1, Article 1, protect the club's ability to challenge a third ruling following one successive ruling. So basically what that means is that if you win a challenge, either one of your first 2 challenge, then you automatically get a third challenge. So they changed it from having to get 2, right, in a row, right, to get the third one. Well, now you only have to get one of the first 2 challenges correct to be able to get a third challenge. So what's everybody think about that one?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
It's
I like that.
definitely one of those rules that I feel like will help the game a lot, just because there's so much that happens. In the speed of moments where coaches have to challenge or whatever. I don't think you should be punished or anything like that for losing a certain challenge or something like that. So to be able to give a team an extra challenge after winning one,
Right.
this will help a lot of teams, especially at end of games or in pivotal moments in games when they really need that challenge to look at something that the refs missed or something like that. So
Right.
Yeah, I like the challenge rule as well. I mean, I think it's a good addition. The one thing I will say about challenges is why can we still not challenge in the final 2 minutes?
yeah,
That's something I'll never
they
understand.
gotta have some
That's
kind of
something
control back.
right, and I'm like the most pivotal 2 minutes of the game they want control over.
Yeah. That's the way it goes.
I feel like that's what we were just kind of talking about with the replay. Like in that 2 minutes, honestly, I feel opposite of you, Max. Oddly, because I usually agree with everything on you. But I feel like those last 2 minutes, I'm like, okay, we've got officials who are going to watch it. They're going to know that this is the right call. So I feel like the whole game should be like that, though. Like, why just the last 2 minutes are you guys in the, New York watching every play, and you guys decide if it's a touchdown or not? Why don't we do that all game? I know it sounds kind of.
I mean, I agree with that. I agree with the amount of effort they put into review. I just think that you should still be able to challenge during that time, regardless. So, I don't get why they put restrictions on challenging in those final 2 minutes. I understand that they have their own reviews in New York, everything goes to the booth, but there's plays that are not called and then they don't get reviewed. That's my thing, is that when it's not called, when it is called, it immediately gets reviewed. But something that's not called and doesn't get reviewed in those final 2 minutes is missed. Like, for example, pass interference on MVS last year in the Green Bay game. Like that should be challengeable. But again, pass interference obviously isn't challengeable anymore. So yeah.
All right, so we got that one covered. So another interesting one here, I think worth talking about. So amends Rule 15, Section 3, Article 9 to allow replay review when there is clear and obvious visual evidence the game clock expired before the snap. What do you guys think of that one?
This always should have been a thing.
Yeah.
This always should have been a thing.
Rules that they waited.
It's just like basketball. That's literally just like basketball. They go review the clock to see if they got the shot off, if the buzzer went off before. It's the same thing for me. That should always have been a thing.
Right.
Yeah, this should have already been implemented. I just feel like they kind of realized the mistake they've been making for several years about it. So I'm glad they put it in there. So I like it.
Finally, yep, I agree.
Yep. Let's see. Another one I thought was interesting that we had talked about in the space at Arrowhead AM. So this one was by Detroit. So bylaws to provide clubs with a unlimited number of designated for return transactions in the postseason. So, DG, explain what that means.
Well, basically, I think it means they're giving. Are they giving you an extra roster spot in the play as you get towards the playoff to bring guys back from IR? Is what I'm.
I don't know. It's I don't think it has to do with that. I think it has to do with like you can bring up anybody who's on the IR. So if you have someone who is on IR going into the postseason, you're in the postseason.
Right.
You have, instead of being able to just bring up a couple, I think it is, you can bring up an unlimited amount.
So in other terms, IR essentially is only effective during the regular season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you had somebody at the beginning of the season on IR, and say, because I know they've done the rule where they've split it up to long-term IR and short-term IR. Like you can go to short-term for 4 weeks or something like that and still be eligible.
They did that during COVID, right? That all started during COVID, because before that it was like 12 weeks or something, or 16 weeks they couldn't come back.
Right.
Yeah. So I think now what I'm hearing is that you can bring back somebody even if they were on the IR at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. And if you're in the postseason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever it takes to, some guys like, I don't want to get to the end of the season, you're not available, especially if you can be available. Like, it'd be nice to be able to bring those guys back, at any point in time. So no
Right.
matter how long they've had to sit out. So.
Yep. And then, of course, the other rule, which we already talked about, they have moved the trade deadline to week 8. So basically, basically before week 9 starts, the week of week 9. So that's good. I think everybody talked about that one. Was needed to be done last year. Everybody was talking about that, given another week or something for that trade deadline. So. I mean, that's pretty much the rules there. If you want the full rule summary to read over for yourself, obviously you have this. Here you can screenshot that and read it if you can get it large enough. Or you can head over to the NFL.com website, and they've got a full list of this, all the rules and everything that's changed. But I think those were some of the ones that were intriguing to talk about, at least. So moving on to the next one, which is I think the biggest one, real quick, is the new kickoff rules. This is something that I think everybody has been talking about. Last year, I thought it was a joke because literally every single time they kicked the ball off, it went straight to the back of the end zone, and there was no return. It was kind of like a break play, like conditioning for the kick return team or the kicking team. So this new rule is going to be pretty exciting. I think it's going to be really interesting, and it's going to put a little bit more not really pressure, but it's going to really get these special team coordinators to kind of dig into their bag a little bit and kind of figure out some new tricks. So let's switch.
I feel like we have the best one with Taub. I mean, we've got Taub, so I feel like, and I still feel like it's a joke, to be honest. Yeah. It still feels like they're kidding.
Right. So this is the new diagram for the new kickoff. In case you have not seen this on Twitter, this is what the new kickoff is going to look like. Max, you want to go ahead and kind of start us off by talking about this new alignment, and then I'll get into the rules here.
Yeah, so you have the kicker, obviously at their own 35-yard line kicking off. Then there is another set of the other 10 of the kicking team at the 40 to 45-yard line that are standing 5 yards apart from the receiving team, which is also in the range of the 35 to 30. I don't know if anyone has watched the UFL highlights from last year. I'm guessing most of us have kind of seen this alignment, but basically it's like a lineman going up against each other, 10 versus 10 there with the kicker in the back. And then that landing zone that you guys see from the 20 to the goal line is the safe spot for the ball to land. Now, if the ball doesn't land there, if it lands in the white, it is a penalty and it's to the 40-yard line. If it lands in the green and rolls into the end zone, you get it at the 25. It's just like a regular touchback. And if the ball lands in the red or goes out the back of the end zone, it is to the 35-yard line. So this is really going to challenge some kickers. You got to be accurate. You got to kick that ball in that 20-yard range right there. And also
20-yard line.
Yeah, that 20 yards right there.
Well, it's, so if you kick it in the landing zone and then it goes into the end zone, it must be returned or downed by receiving team. If downed, then the touchback is on the 20-yard line.
20. Okay, so it's at the 20.
Yeah.
My bad. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see kickers and how they adjust. You obviously have to get in that 20-yard green zone right there. If you don't, then that's going to really hurt your offense. I think this is going to shrink the field for a lot of teams. I know. I think me and Ross, we disagreed on that. You think it's going to short, or you think it's going to make longer drives? I think teams are going to get way better starting field position out of this. I mean,
real quick, I want to interrupt you because I think we said it was a 35 and we were talking about it in a space. But according to I'm on the operationsnfl.com website, and it says here a kick that goes out of the back of the end zone in the air or bounces, it's a touchback to the 30-yard line, not to 35.
Wait, so if you kick it in the end zone or out of the end zone like an old touchback, they get it at the 35.
30. They got the 30.
30. Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay. I thought it was the 35, and we talked about that in space, and I didn't like the fact that it was the 35 because I thought that was way too far up. You're
What is
basically
the 35? Something is the 35, Max. I just don't know what it is. Is it if you kick
No.
it out of bounds in between the landing zone?
Nope, that's
No.
Or is
30.
it if you don't hit the landing zone?
That's 30 still. It's
If you
nothing
don't hit the
30.
la-
It's either
if you
20.
don't-
It's either 20, 30, or 40. Are the placements.
yeah, and the 40 is
What happens if you kick it out of bounds?
If you kick it
The
out of
40.
bounds,
That's the 40.
let's see, it's the 30.
My guess would be the 40 because that was the old penalty, and it's basically like you didn't get it in a landing zone.
Yeah, so any kick that hits short of the landing zone is treated like a kick out of bounds, and the ball will be spotted at the 40-yard line.
Yeah, that's what it
So you
used to
have
be.
so you have to land it in the landing zone. So if it lands, even if they, let's say, catch it at the 21, wouldn't that automatically, if they can't down it, can they? So you just wouldn't touch it if the ball's about to land in front of the 20, because then you would get the ball to 40, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
There's no 40. Yeah.
it gets sketchy
it-
there.
My guess is it's the same as out of bounds, because if you step out of bounds and touch the ball, it's automatically a kick out of bounds. So I think if you step outside of the landing zone and catch the ball, it would be the same thing as standing out of bounds and reaching out and touching the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw that happen a couple of years ago. Someone did that where they grabbed the ball from standing out of bounds. But yeah, I mean, this is really going to challenge kickers. You have to get in that 20-yard range. And if you don't, you're going to heavily penalize your defense, and your defense is going to have to step up. I think that this is going to shorten the field for a lot of teams. I think they're going to get a lot better starting field position, obviously, just because we don't know what percentage of kicks aren't going to go in that landing zone, but there's obviously going to be some percentage that don't. So you figure you're either already at the 30. And then obviously, even if you do catch the ball in the landing zone, the quote unquote line of scrimmage, basically where the offensive and defensive line are head to head, is at the 35, and you're catching the ball in front of the end zone. So it's going to be hard not to at least get to the 30, especially with the speed in this league. Like, these are UFO rules. So again, those are athletes, but the NFL type speed is much, much different in physicality. So we'll see what happens. I think that there's going to be some interesting alignments. I'm excited to see what people come up with.
There can be a lot of trick plays, definitely.
My question is how.
Go ahead, Corey.
My question is, how are you going to do onside kicks now? Do you have to report hey, onside kick?
You have to announce
to report it.
Yeah,
there's no surprise onside kick anymore.
Yeah,
you have to report it. So here's some quick hits that I don't think we've discussed even in a space after this came out. So there is no fair catch signal allowed. If you do a fair catch signal, the officials will blow the play dead, and you will have to re-kick.
Which is what I was asking earlier. If somebody doesn't catch it, so they have to catch it if it's in there.
They pretty much have to catch it.
Wait, hold up. You said it. Hold up. You said if they fair catch it, it's a re-kick?
Yep, they blow the play dead, and you re-kick.
Basically, if they accidentally call for a fair catch just out of habit, I'm guessing they do a re-kick. That's why they're doing it. But I figure that rule will go away after this year, right?
Probably.
That's interesting to me because you're almost penalizing the kicking team then.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people could do that on purpose if it wasn't, like they could be like, oh, we don't like this kick. Let's go ahead and fair catch it.
I'm sure there's a limit there, but it doesn't say anything about a limit on that right now. So, so another one. Okay, so that one stays the same. So if there's conditions that causes the ball to fall off the tee, then that can be held by a kicker. Onside kick, fourth quarter begins. The team trailing has the opportunity to declare an onside kick to the officials. So that's a big change there. So no more surprise onside kicks. Current onside kick rules would apply in this situation. So no change there. Penalties. The setup zone and landing zone will not change with any penalties that carry over to the kickoff. Alignment of 10 kickoff team players and all receiving team players would not change. Only the spot of the kick would move. So I don't know how that changes anything. So essentially, if you have a penalty and they're going to force it on a kickoff, they're literally only changing the kick, but it still has to land in the zone.
I think this is one of those rules that's probably not gonna last. Come on.
I think
agree.
it'll need some fine tuning.
Yeah.
It's gonna need some fine tuning. Okay, so that one really doesn't change much. The kick will be 20. The kick will be from the 20-yard line. A safety kick. The kick will be from the 20-yard line, and the kicker will have the option to use a tee. The setup zone and the landing zone will not change. So if you get a safety, you kick from the 20-yard line, and you still have to kick it to the zone.
And they get to use a tee now. What the?
I'm telling you, I don't think this is gonna.
Oh, this is wild. What are they doing? They're changing.
I didn't even
so
know that. I didn't even
much.
see that one in the the tweet.
And actually, we benefit a little bit from that, guys. Like for this rule, because we have a punter, kicker, and a Riza,
Right.
and then we have the best to do it. I feel like is Bucker. So like we have. I think we'll be okay. But man, why are they doing so many changes in 1 year?
Trying to add off.
I think it's that 7 points we talked about. The offense and the game scoring 7 points less. They want more action, I guess.
Yeah, they definitely want more offense.
This is a fundamental part of the game that's being changed. I think that's the reason I initially wasn't a fan of it, just because you're changing something that deals with the integrity, like the actual basis of the game. We're never going to see if this does somehow get renewed, which I pray it doesn't, just because I don't like it. You're never going to see a kick return like Devin Hester again. You're never going to see those exciting.
Changes it, yeah.
I just think because of the safety push, I don't think they're going to go backwards on this. I think they're going to fine tune this new kickoff.
Yeah.
But so just the setup rule here, setup zone, a 5-yard area from the 35-yard line to the 30-yard line, where at least 9 receiving team players must line up. At least 7 players with foot on the 35-yard line, retaining line, with alignment requirements outside the numbers and numbers to hash and inside hash. Players not on the retaining line must be lined up in the setup zone outside the hash marks.
So you can have 3 people outside of the hash marks, basically, is what they're saying.
Right.
So you can still kick gunners pretty much, but
right.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, 3 people off the line outside the hash marks. And that's what I was bringing up earlier. Just it'll be interesting to see what some return teams come up with, how they stagger their guys and what they want to do.
Right.
Well, they could also make it easier on the kicking team to pinch off a defense or to pinch off the returning team, because if there's no restrictions on how many per side, you can line all 3 of them outside the hash on the left side and kick it to the left side of the landing zone. And since you've only got 20 yards to run to be in the play, you don't have to worry about them beating you to the opposite side of the field.
Right. So all players on both sides within the setup zone, okay, the setup zone, the yellow and the blue, okay, all players cannot move at all until the ball is caught or lands in the landing zone.
I feel like we're going to have problems week 1 with this. Man, this is going to be funny to watch, but I'm excited.
No.
Making news in the quarter.
No, they haven't.
Yeah, no. Yeah, Corey found a background. What's up, Ethan? Ethan couldn't join us tonight, everybody. He had to go save the world and fix a tower.
Yeah.
So
if you're in the Kansas
keep
City
that
area,
5G going, bro.
If you're in Kansas City area and you have Verizon, Ethan's keeping your stuff alive tonight.
Yeah, Corey's fixing your tower, so be patient, please.
No,
you can have a maximum of 2 returners lined up in the landing zone, and they can move at any time during or prior to the kick. So there you go.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the 2 guys in the back?
Yeah, so you can have 2 returners.
So I'm guessing if the new guy we signed in rugby might be, I know a lot of people are going over the top with him, but he'd be like a good person probably back, maybe like Kadarius Toney, something like that.
Yeah, KT if he comes back, yeah. So
I think you also have draft potential for someone back there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have some guys I think that would. I mean, this kind of changes up, kind of maybe like who you would want as a kick returner. Maybe I don't know. We'll just have to see this play out. I can't wait until preseason to actually see this unfold because, am I right in saying I didn't watch the games today, but they went back to a traditional kickoff in the new league, right?
Yep, they aren't
Yeah.
doing this.
In the UFL.
Yeah, they went
Yeah.
back to a traditional kickoff.
Yep.
Way to go, NFL!
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I think this is gonna be a mess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
That's
think it
my-
could be fun. Listen, it was boring as hell to see the balls kicked out of the back of the end zone. So, you know,
I agree with you there. I definitely do. I feel like it's just like so different. Like maybe they like I would have been fine if they just kept everything the same. They did the players line up until the ball is received. But then
Mhm.
like the kickers would try and kick it to the back of the end zone and make the returner run a lot farther. Like that would have been more fun. But I think we just don't understand it right now. And once we do, I think it'll be a lot more fun. I agree.
That's
It's
it.
going to be better than watching the ball get kicked out of the end zone every time. And if you notice, Brock Curry used to do it on purpose. He used to kick it like make it float as high as possible and land right inside like the 5.
Yeah.
And that was like a play we set up, and we would usually down them inside the 20. And
Right.
that's no more. So everybody's going to be ending up on the 20 or the 30 most of the time, right?
That's what
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So I don't
Oh,
know.
The league is changing everything for safety except for the one thing that every player calls for, and that's get rid of turf fields. But they won't do that because these owners want their money. These owners want to be able to host concerts. So I don't know. The kickoff was a huge safety concern, but with the amount that weren't even being returned. And again,
I mean, they cut down the injuries. You're right, Max. Like they cut down the injuries, but it's like now. I mean, in special teams, it's a totally different ballgame now. So those guys, they're probably going to ask for more money. Top end special teams guys are probably going to fetch $4 to $5 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it.
All
Sorry.
right. Yeah.
Not a fan.
I'm not a huge fan of it either. Give me
I don't
just
like
one.
Ew.
All right, so we're gonna get to a couple nuanced things, the off-season schedule, and a quick Rice video, and then we're gonna get into our film review on the tackles that we think that the Kansas City Chiefs has a good chance of getting in the 2024 NFL Draft. So, real quick, let me get this bad boy up here and share screen, and boom, and boom. All right, so right here is the schedule, if you can see it. For this upcoming offseason here. So Chiefs will begin the team offseason workout program on April 15th. OTAs will be May 20th to the 22nd, May 28th to the 30th, June 4th to the 7th. Mandatory minicamp is from June 11th to the 13th. All voluntary until minicamp with rookie minicamp days to come. So mark your schedule. Those are the dates for the off-season program and the workouts. So here's a video that I found of Mr. Brad Henson Production was nice enough to post this video for us of Mr. Rashid Rice working on his routes.
He just looks so much different. You know, like you watch the rugby guy run routes, and then you see Rashid. It's just a massive
Oh my
difference, man.
That's not even comparable.
Yeah, but there's some Chiefs fans out there comparing it, so I wanted to bring it up. You know,
Yeah.
He's
Now working on footwork quickness.
yeah, that's kind of what I noticed from this. And Ross, can you mute it?
Yeah.
No, just click the mute button.
Sounds like one of the old Mortal Kombat games.
No, like I agree with you, Corey. He's working on his footwork, but the first thing I noticed from this is he's lowering his center of gravity a lot more. He's dropping his hips way farther right there. Like when he goes into his break, he's dropping his hips, which is something that's really good to see, and that allows you to explode off your outside and inside foot more, especially the outside. Like right there, you see he dropped his hips and can cut way easier. It also
he looks more
allows
flexible.
yeah, that's what I'm noticing.
What
Must be
amazing.
that Bobby Troop workout, right?
His one knock has always been his ability to separate in man coverage and beat somebody one-on-one across their face. And this type of drill right here, working on getting low, working on quick feet, in and outs, is what will help him in beating that man-to-man coverage.
Yeah.
You also see his hips turn on that first clip. You can see his hips turn when we go back to the beginning. Right? That's after this one. Or no. After this one, I think. Yeah. You notice he's working on his hips as well, right there. You see his hips open to the outside, and then he cuts back in. That's really good to see because for the viewers, I think most of us know this, but as a DB, you're taught to read the wide receiver's hips. So that's the easiest way to play with a DB, and he is.
I actually learned that in basketball. Yeah, you stare at the belly button or the hips. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. So
He looks so nasty, man. I think we're looking for a big year 2 for him.
I remember Doug. I don't know if you guys remember Doug Baldwin, but I always looked at Doug Baldwin as one of the better route runners to ever play this game. Even though he may not have the stats or anything like that, but he used to talk about the crossover step. It's something that he kind of took from basketball that transitioned over to this game, and I can kind of see Rasheed kind of trying to learn that technique at this point. It's something that helps you on your release because getting lower than somebody else can obviously help you get off the ball a little bit faster or whatever. So I definitely
got the running back legs too.
Yeah, what he's doing. I love the fluidity in his hips that he's working on right now. It's definitely going to help him getting off the ball a little bit faster and being able to get open. It's all off season is always about working on those special little nuances that help you, in the season and elevate your game. Those are with the veteran guys in this league: the Travis Kelce, the DeAndre Hopkins, the Odell Beckham Jr.'s, the guys who've had success in this league. That's what they're usually working on at this time of the year. So proud of Rasheed. Glad he's in the lab putting in that work, man, to get better.
We talked about this too, right? We talked about he's going to be in the lab working on things that he needs to get better at. They haven't even unlocked his entire game yet. And him being down there working with this, the agility part of it, the quick motion, the fast twitch muscles, that kind of stuff that he's been doing with Patrick Mahomes there and Hollywood Brown working together. So it's really good to see him working on stuff. I can't wait to see him in camp. I'm just that number one wide receiver narrative is going strong, baby. I'm right there with it. So
well, it also shows that he's got somebody in his ear telling him this offseason, okay, here's what you were lacking last year. Here's what was kind of holding you back. And it's good to see that he's working on it. Like he's out there productively working on trying to correct his limitations from last season. If he can fix that, I've always said it, that he's great slot defender. He's great zone defender. But for him to become a true number one, he's got to be able to start to develop the route tree and the ability to beat man coverage. And working on that, working on opening the hips, like Max said, working on quick in and out steps will help that. And if he can develop that ability to beat man coverage off the line, he could turn into a solid wide receiver one.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, do you guys want to talk about Reese Zamet real quick?
Oh yeah, the ladies' favorite.
Yeah,
the
lady killer.
Oh my gosh! Shout out Lexi. Shout out Jody and some other individuals in Chiefs Kingdom in our Twitterverse. They are definitely googling eyeing over this guy. So he's definitely going to be a lady's favorite. So
got the whitest teeth I've ever seen.
They're white, right?
He's got the whitest teeth ever.
So with this guy being signed, and I want to make sure that everybody kind of understands the hype surrounding this guy right now, specifically the NFL and specifically the Chiefs, and how much attention they're giving this guy and the signing. This is an international player, and the NFL right now is pushing hard on getting their brand out to the international public. And when you sign a player like this, that's one of the top players in rugby, right? It's gonna be a little bit of hoopla. So they're just just understand what's going on here in regards to the hype. It's not the hype of like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing player. Like we just got, a steal, 3-year deal, $2.8 million. Like it's a steal. It's not that. He's got a lot of athletic ability, but he's never touched an American football field before in a game. So he's got a lot of things to work on. So I just want to set the stage for that. So DG, we'll just go around the clock here. What do you think about this signing, and how do you think he's going to be utilized?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, I don't think it really cost the Chiefs anything to put him, on the team and pay him or whatever what they wanted to pay him. At this point in time, it obviously seems like they have full control kind of over the situation, and I feel like it's kind of an experimental thing, kind of see maybe what he can come in, see what he can do. I've had I kind of had a little theory that this is Andy Reid's way of getting his fullback back without having to give up a roster spot for it.
Right.
So I honestly see that. I think that he can come in. I think that'd be the position, kind of that H back role that he could come in and probably contribute in as far as a spot for him, kind of make it a little bit of an easier transition for him, not put too much on him. When I seen they put like slash receiver, I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like, there's
Right.
a lot of things at that position that require you to learn at a very fast and high level at this point. And I don't think that that's something that he would be able to accomplish in this league. But playing that H back role, teaching them how to block or how to hit a hole and find a hole and find a gap or something like that, and taking off, making it real just simple and easy on him to transition to this game. I think that they can definitely do that. And obviously, like you said, with the new kickoff rules coming into effect, I think that's an area on the special team side that he could probably come in and help out at or whatever, and give them some kind of weapon on that side or whatever. But I mean, from what I seen on tape, man, he's obviously kicking, obviously running, man. That's not a that's not something that we didn't see. So he's obviously pretty fast. Got good measurables. I think he was 6'3", 209 or something like that. So I'm with it, man. We just bring him in camp, see what he's got. Really doesn't cost you anything. So it's a low risk, high reward type of situation. So I'm with it.
Yep. What do you think, Obi?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm echoing what he's saying. I really feel like Jet, we may bring him back one more year. We may not. I feel like he's the perfect cat for him to, like you said, not really fullback, but like that tailback position where we could turn him into a receiving threat. He could be a running back. I mean, we only have one running back, I think, right now. So I could see him using it there. I do like the idea. That was from DG about him being basically the fullback that you always wanted. But what's it costing? $900,000 a year, right? Like that's cheap. It's a good way to use for leverage over other guys who are wanting more money. Yeah. And so, like, if he does do good in camp, he's a good competition for everybody. So I like the move, man. There's nothing to dislike about it other than people thinking he's going to be like a wide receiver one. It's never going to happen. Like, I don't even think he'll be a wide receiver, maybe a flex. But, yeah, that's my thoughts.
So, real quick to prove that, because you mentioned that, we have Isaiah Pacheco, obviously, as a starter, right? And right now on the roster, we have Hassan Hall. It's like he played for the Browns. Keontae Ingram, who played for the Arizona Cardinals.
He was nice. He was nice in Arizona.
Yeah.
I know Keontae.
Yeah, we have P. Ryan, and then we have Prince, and now we have Zamet. So those are your running backs you have right now on the roster.
Wow, two of those I didn't know we had. So, yeah, I mean, I think he'd probably add to the running back room then. And you said he was nice. What guy did you say was nice, Max, in Arizona? What was that name again?
Keontae Ingram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keontae Ingram.
I like that.
I liked him.
Yeah, so that's the running back room you got right now. So I mean, could this guy get in? I think personally, I'm gonna let Max go because I have a hot take for this situation. So go ahead, Max and Corey.
Corey, you want to go first? We're going
Corey, yeah.
Clockwise.
I say, looking at that 24.5 mile an hour top speed, Dave Toombs is probably drooling right now, thinking of him as a gunner on special teams. I think that's probably the easiest way for him to work himself onto a roster spot is using that top end speed and becoming a gunner on special teams.
Yeah.
Yep. That's definitely agreeable.
Well, the only
Max?
gunner position now is on punt. There isn't one on kickoff
Yeah.
anymore.
That's another big change too. You no longer have a gunner need for kickoff. So does that eliminate a potential player that you bring on a 53-man roster, or
Maybe. I don't know. I think it'll be more interesting to see what happens on the defensive side of the ball, or even
Mhm.
the line side of the ball, what they choose to do at linebacker. My thoughts on this. I don't want to be a downer, but we're giving this kid a lot of hype. He's getting a lot of hype, and I get it. I get why the Chiefs are posting it. It's the whole international business. They want to get their international stuff going on. Jeremy, to respond to your comment, they signed him to a 3-year deal. Yes, that's not so much because they see a huge future with him. A 3-year deal is the base contract for any entry international player. It's just like signing an undrafted free agent. Basically, his price at $2.83 million. That has a small signing bonus, and the guaranteed money basically reflects what he will make for the practice squad. That's basically what the guaranteed money is in that contract. My personal thoughts on him: I would love for him to make the roster. I would love to watch him in a game and see him make the 53-man, and I hope he does. But if I'm going to be real and keep my expectations real, I think he's more of a practice squad guy that we could help coach and get ready for the 53-man. I don't know if he's going to be ready after one Andy Reid training camp. If there was any training camp that would get him ready, it is Andy Reid's, to be fair. But it'll be interesting to see what we do. Also, a lot of people were saying that they would like him at kick returner. Kick returner isn't just catching a ball and running with it and being physical and running with the ball and being fast. Catching a kickoff is a lot harder than catching a pass. That ball is twirling and it's way higher in the air, coming down way faster than a pass is. So it's a completely different story than catching a pass. If he does see the field, which again I hope he does, I want his story. Like I love this signing. I would like to see him in short yardage situations. If it is a pass, maybe a screen pass. If it is a run, maybe just like an inside zone and goal line. Another thing that would be interesting is, could he QB sneak? That's my other intriguing thing about him.
We need someone to do that, honestly.
I mean, that
H back, bro.
Patrick Mahomes will never QB sneak again. What's up?
So that guy's got some massive thighs.
Yeah, he does, and he has speed. And I mean, obviously, we also have 24 miles
no
per hour.
did he?
He's a great scout team player, though, too. If he is on the practice squad, I need that.
Ooh, there you go.
That's what I was. That's what I was saying.
Speed. Yeah, you want to project speed. You've got a guy who can run that fast. He's a
Nice.
great
man. That's
scout player.
all Use Check does. He's a glorified H back. Like, the H back slash tight end. Kyle Use Check don't do that much, bro.
I mean, I will say this though: lining up in the back,
us.
he does have the perfect speed to use him on those wheel routes like we used to do Anthony Sherman.
And Anthony Sherman, he was a bigger boy. He wasn't that fast.
You're gonna have to work on his hips because his hips are like brick.
He don't look to run wheels. He don't to run a wheel route. He don't need no hips. It's literally
just run this.
Go.
Get on the field. Go. Yeah, he don't need no hips for that. You know,
right?
You teaching that brother 3 routes, man. A swing route, a wheel route, and probably a little down and out. Like that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, he'll have like
good point, Jim. Yeah. Yeah, I like this. I think I'm on the same line with DG. I think this is Andy was secretly in the background in his office going, I want my fullback back, but how do I do this? Like, and this is a perfect way for him to get that fullback tight end kind of, mesh, because I think he's 6'3", like 210, something like that. 215. I've seen some different measurements as far as how much he weighs. So I don't know where he's at quite. I'm gonna stick with about 215 around there. So if you can teach him how to block, a little bit, right? Then you can play him that H-back role that we were just talking about, like Kyle does, right? So I think this is going to be awesome. I think I don't think this is hype. I think this guy's got an enormous amount of athletic ability. Is it going to take some time? Yeah, it's going to take some time. You may not see him this year. You may only see him on kickoffs,
I'll
or
at least give it a year.
yeah, give it a year. But I think this guy's got amazing upside. He's 23 years old. So you've got some time to work with him, develop him, and see if he's a diamond in the rough type of guy. And that's what Veach loves to do. He loves to find these guys off of practice squads, out in the weeds somewhere. Just that's just what he does, man.
That's
Oh,
so true,
the
Jeremy.
league would
Because
be
You
pissed.
hate Jeremy.
the funniest part too is we were his first visit. He had 3 other visits scheduled, and he didn't take any of them.
Raiders.
And he didn't take any of them. He came to us and he immediately signed. So that's interesting. Also, another fact for anyone watching: 37 players from the International Players Program have made the NFL, and only 15 of them have made the active roster. So they made NFL teams, but
It's like a
only
50-50 chance.
Yeah, only
Right.
15 of them have made an active roster, and only 5 of them are still active right now.
Yeah.
The most notable one being Jordan Mailata on the Eagles.
Yep.
So
there you go. Let's re-examine it. That's our thoughts on him. I think that's it's a great signing. I think it's a very high ceiling signing with no downside really at all. So why not take a shot? I mean, like I said, you need to go out and look in the rest of this world because it's full of athletes. It's not just here in the States for this game. So I love this program. I love what they did with it. Shout out to Brett Veach for pulling the trigger on that one. So
He's gonna have all the women at training camp.
that's what I said.
Oh my
Hide your
God.
wives,
All the
hide
women
your
finna show up to
girlfriends.
training camp.
bro, between Travis Kelce and this dude, what in the what?
But that's
Hey,
the thing. Like
he-
we just got rid of the Travis stuff because he's dating Taylor. Now all the girls are like, okay, like we can't do Taylor. But now they got Reese, so they're set. They're set.
Yeah.
Hide your wives.
Yeah, so the ones I don't
I
like.
was gonna say, if you're a husband, out there as a Chiefs fan, you're cooked.
Yeah, you are cooked for sure. Hey, if you got some questions out there, Twitterverse, X, whichever one you call it, pop them down there in the comment section. If you got some questions you want to ask us about the Chiefs, about the offseason, about the NFL, pretty much anything you got to ask. If you're on YouTube, please do the same. Give us a follow over there on Kingdom Cast on the Twitter page if you don't mind. That'd be great. That way you stay up to date and tuned into what we're doing. We got a lot of big news coming out, especially a big announcement here at the end of the show tonight. So stick around for that. But share the space or share the show. I've been doing spaces too much. Oh my gosh. We are about to get into the nitty gritty of this show, which is kind of what we're really here for, which is a little bit of breakdown on players and a little bit of film on a couple of these players that we got our hands on without breaking any rules. Corey here is our draft guy. He's the one that really dives deep into the draft class and really tries to understand who these guys are and what they do best and kind of tries to get into the mind of Brett Veach. Obi up here has a little bit more of an understanding of the offensive line as we have it set right now on the roster. So he's going to kind of play a role in Corey and Obi kind of going back and forth and kind of trying to figure out what our offensive line is going to look like. Obviously, we know that the right side of the offensive line is pretty stout and standard for this year, but there's some changes that could be coming after this season. I think that's worth talking about, especially in this draft. So, Corey, we're going to start it off. I got, we tweeted out just before we came in here, and I want to pull that up. It's Corey's. It's our list of our top tackles that we think we can get to that Corey came up with here, and I'm gonna share that while we talk a little
Just
bit.
don't share his notes.
Don't share the notes. Super
notes.
bad. So there you go.
You got doctor's handwriting.
Right.
Yeah, for me, these are the tier 2 guys, the ones that'll go past pick 20 that we would have a legitimate shot for at either the end of the first round or in the second round. My top 4, I would say, are guys that we could get in the first round, beginning the second, that would most likely be an upgrade over Wanye. The last two, 5 and 6, to me, are kind of similar to that Wanye range, to where developmental pieces, to where they would kind of get in and battle with each other for the starting left tackle spot. The other one would become either future guard, future swing tackle. But either way, any of these would help upgrade our offensive line, especially for the long term. We've got a lot of big contracts coming up with Creed and with Trey Smith. Juwan's already on a big contract. Tooney's on a big contract. So at some point we got to get younger, and left tackle is really the spot that we can to battle with Wanye and that swing tackle spot that we've got open now. Do we want to just go in order from 1 to 6?
Yeah, so just kind of list off those guys right there so I can pull this screen off, and then we'll kind of go from there.
One's going to be kind of a surprise. I just like his versatility and how well-rounded he is. Karan Amagaji. For the tier 2 tackles, he's my number 1. Number 2 is Kingsley Suamatea. Number 3, I know everybody hates him. He's got all of the traits minus the arms, but Jordan Morgan is my number 3. Then we go to number 4 on that list is Tyler Guyton. And then we get into the 5 and 6, which is kind of the Wanye range. And that's Patrick Paul and then Blake Fisher.
Yeah, I really like Patrick Paul a lot.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, go ahead and you can start doing your list from top to bottom. I think I have some Kingsley stuff. I don't have Karan, so you're going to go ahead with that.
So with Karan,
you can talk about origami.
Origami is crazy.
With Karan, he went to Yale. Not a big school. Not somebody that you see habitually push out offensive linemen. So they probably don't have a very good, a top tier O-line coaching staff. But he's 6'5" and 3'8", so almost 6'6", 323 pounds. Has a 36 and 1/8 inch arm length, which is huge, an 85 and a half inch wingspan. So he's got the size, he's got the arm length, the wingspan, and he's a very technical player. He's got short area burst. The one thing that I can say that is his downside is his footwork, especially with his drop step. He's a little bit slow sometimes, but he probably hasn't had the training that somebody that went to Oklahoma or Alabama has had going through. But the ability to lock onto you and not let you go is ridiculous. I mean, you just watched a swim move and a spin move, didn't even phase him. His side to side, look at his ability to slide side to side and reattach to the player. To me, he's one of the most underrated, untalked about tackles in the draft just because of his lack of ability and speed. But when he gets his hands on you, you're not going anywhere. If he would have went somewhere like Arkansas or Alabama or transferred after a year or two and started one of those schools and had tape like this, we would be talking about him as a first-round pick.
Where do you have him projected at?
Honestly,
like into the first round?
I could see him going anywhere from pick 32 to pick 60. I mean, he might be available there. I mean, it just depends on how tackles go off the board. If somebody wants the prototypical size like Guyton over him, or like Jordan Morgan, somebody who's got bigger school experience. For me, he's one of those that it would be a little bit of a reach, but I would be fine taking him at 32. If you look at his tape, even at a smaller school, it's nothing but dominant performance on tape. And like I said, that range go anywhere from, I wouldn't even be surprised if somebody took them into the first round at 28, 30. They see the tape that I'm looking at and fall in love with them and say, hey, we've got a better staff here. We can work on that footwork problem a little bit. Besides the footwork, he's got every trait you want. Tackle.
And he's BYU.
I'm quickly falling in love with this guy. Like, this is, like, I would not put it past Veach to piss everybody off and go out there and draft a BYU left tackle. This dude is massive.
That's
36-inch arms. Like 300.
He's the only one I found with 5 stars. He's the only lineman that I personally felt like this would be the absolute perfect match.
And it's just to show you kind of what I saw that people are starting to see. When I first started doing mock drafts, When his name popped up, he was available in the 3rd round for us to take. Now I don't see him making it past the 2nd round at any mock draft. So people are starting to see this tape, and he's starting to slide up boards, even though people aren't talking about it. You look at most of the simulators, he's gone by the end of round 2. I think he could go higher than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this. He's got good tape, man. What do you think about this guy, DG?
Oh, the kid from Yale.
Yeah, kid from Yale, Karan.
I mean, from what I've heard, it seems like more of a technical issue that he's had. I definitely know he has the size and the athleticism. Maybe I think a lot of people's concern is just the level of competition and the technical issues. But we've all seen guys like this come from smaller schools and be great players in the league. So I think if it's just one of those things where it's just needs, he just needs some coaching or whatever, I'm definitely with it. I definitely love the size that he has and the physicality that he plays with. You can obviously tell there's something there. But like I said, I'm not for the chat. I am not the guy to be asking about tackles. So,
Who was the last guy? Who was the last guy we drafted? Was from a small school.
Wanya, no,
I'm talking about starter.
I mean, the Chiefs have always had success with guys like, I mean, bringing in like a guy like Duvernay Tardif, who nobody knew about, or whatever, and they made him, into one of a service.
Was he one of the international players we were talking about?
No, I'm talking about Eric Fisher, the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, and the Fisher too, as well. It's another guy that they were able to bring in and develop. Took some time or whatever, but eventually I think Eric Fisher just obviously became a serviceable player and obviously helped us win the Super Bowl. So I have full confidence in the Chiefs being able to coach guys up. I don't see an issue with it if that's who they were going to take. I think 1st round would be a little bit too high for him. But I mean, that's where if they see him as a 1st round talent, then maybe that's where they take him or whatever.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind being able to get him in the 2nd or 3rd round, but
Real quick, Corey, do you know who Steven's talking about? TCU guy, day 3 steal.
Is he talking about Liang?
See,
no, I think he's talking guy now. What's his name? Is it the?
I don't know. Steven, do you know the guy's name? Post it up in the chat there, and we'll give that a discussion here.
Top 6 that I had remaining, and most Cooker of those in the 1st, in the 2nd round players.
Who's the kid from Yale we're looking at right now? What's his name again?
It is Karan Amagaji.
Okay, you got one I don't have there. I thought we were on Kingsley. That's my fault. Yeah, the Y. I was thinking BYU, and I was thinking Andy Reid is looking. So I think that's my top one is Kingsley, 6'6", 324 pounds. But this guy, he reminds me of him a lot.
Well, I will say this: Kingsley's my number 2. We can move on to him, but there's been some discrepancies. Some places have him measuring in at 6'4", and others have him at 6'6".
Yeah, I had him listed at 6'6".
Yeah, look online through the different sites. At his pro day, he measured in at 6'4". He's listed as 6'6", but he's measured in at 6'4", 6'5", and 6'6", depending on which site you look at.
You say Kingsley?
Yeah, Kingsley Sawamatia.
Yeah. So I tend to go with the lower of the numbers because I know how they like to stretch things.
Yeah, my wife's looking it up right now. 6'5", one of them 6'6". Got him at 324 pounds. Isn't he the one that ran the 40-yard dash in 4.79 seconds?
Yeah, I'm pretty
was
sure.
That Kingsley, or was that someone else?
We have Kingsley on a top 30 visit.
Yeah.
That's my top pick.
And this my brother. He's got 34.25 inch arm length. He's the 328 pounds. I've seen that fluctuate by 5 pounds here or there, but he's solid in pass protection. But he's got one of the lowest run blocking grades, which is going to be kind of back and forth because He does have great burst off the line. However, after first contact, he plays really high. Look at how high up he gets, and allowing people to drive into him. So that doesn't work out well for run blocking, because as soon as you make contact and you raise up, you're not getting any push. It's okay for pass because you can anchor, and he's really good at anchoring once he gets vertical, but it gives you almost nothing in run blocking. You see how he gets drove backwards and he kind of arches his back. He lets people get too into him and will stand him up, but he's very, very solid about re-anchoring and holding his position. But that really limits you in the run game and the push you're going to get.
I feel like we also have to add like 25% to every single one of these guys because of our offensive line coach.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you gotta look at that and say we're gonna improve probably most of these guys up a little bit. We have one of the, I mean, it's Andy Heck, right?
Even on these videos, watch how close they get into his body almost instantly. He doesn't do a very good job of initially getting his hands on and keeping that space, and that allows them to stand him up, getting that close into him.
Yeah, it's almost like he just allows them to push him back a little bit right away.
He plays so much better when he plays forward ahead of him. He's got great burst and great strength moving forward, but he just plays like he's letting the play come to him, and sometimes he'll let him get too far inside, like you see on this one. Even though he held his ground, he was already 6 yards back into the backfield, almost where the quarterback would be standing. He's got to play more aggressive and take his physicality towards the defender instead of letting him get to him.
Yeah,
I like the dog in him, though. I can't lie.
Like this one here. Even though it looks like a win, look at where they end up just after first contact. He lets him get.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Jawan Taylor, though, right? I mean, like Jawan's a little bit like that, where he wins with his hands more, and Patty can move around with guys like that. So, I mean, I agree. You're right. You're absolutely right. But I feel like, you know, even if we end up with this guy, I just don't want to look back and be like, oh yeah, that's the guy who gives up all that ground.
He's a great prospect. He's my number 2 on this list, ahead of guys like Guyton, because I mean he doesn't miss. If you watch, you'll never see him completely whiff on somebody like we've seen with Orlando or with Wanye a couple times on Crosby. He just plays too deep sometimes and lets the play get to him instead of standing his ground and anchoring sooner, which will allow him to be driven into the backfield a little bit, like right here.
Yeah, I see it
in the pocket.
Corey, would you say he trusts his anchor a little bit too much?
He does. He needs to play more aggressive and attack the play instead of letting it drop stepping and letting it come to him. Because on a speed rush, that drop step is okay as long as you push him around. But when they bull rush like that and you're drop stepping, that pushes you right back into the pocket immediately as soon as the play starts.
Right.
Yeah. Are we talking about Kingsley?
I know a little offensive lineman talk, you know. I know a little something.
Yeah, we're talking Kingsley. Swamataya.
Yeah, his play style also, you saw there, it severely limits him in the run game because on that contact, when you get stood up like that, anchoring's great when you're in pass pro, but when you're run blocking, especially downhill like you would with Pacheco, you get like 2 yards and then you're stopped. He doesn't get a whole lot of push beyond the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. So there's his rad scores for Kingsley.
Yeah.
If you can't read it right now, his hand size is 10. His arm length is 34. His height is 6 foot. His weight is 326. His bench, he had 31. His vertical was 28. His broad jump was 9. These times really don't matter to me in my opinion, but 40-yard dash was a 5, which that's actually pretty quick for an offensive lineman. 20-yard split was a 2.9. 10-yard split was a 1.73.
What was the 40-yard dash again? I can't see it.
5.04.
That's actually not bad.
That's why Karam and Kingsley are my 1 and 2. They both have really, really good athleticism for their size. They've got the prototypical size and the arm length. The only difference between the 1 and 2 for me is on the tape, you can see how Karan is able to redirect those rushes to stay further outside of the pocket, where Kingsley will let it drift more into the pocket. And on the blind side is kind of what we saw with Wanye a little bit and with Orlando. to where some of those rushes would push them right back into Mahomes' lap and would be bumping into their backside, and then he'd be forced to roll out. Quran is just a little bit better on redirection and keeping people outside of that pocket for a little bit longer. That's the only reason I've got him ahead of Kingsley.
Now, when we talk about Kingsley, I want to bring up another player that might be a good comp that we could get in a later round. I don't know if you have him on your list. I'm not a Mizzou fan, but Javon Foster. Do you have any notes on him?
I do not. I haven't
All
got
right, cool.
past top 10 on the O tackles yet.
And then I wanted to ask you, since you're kind of the guru on this line, my favorite pick for us would be Patrick Paul, but I don't know if he'll fall to us. What do you think about Patrick and where he would land?
So Patrick Paul is my number 5 on the list. So I'll get to him in a little while. He's huge. He's massive. The mountain.
And super athletic too, right?
But the problem is
Pause.
What?
Pause.
No Diddy.
I was gonna say no Diddy.
But I'll get to him after the next two guys. He's number 5 on the list, and I'll go through. He's got a lot of weaknesses on tape that you see. He's got the size, he's got the strength, but I'll get into some of the weaknesses on his breakdown.
Who's your next guy?
Sound good.
So my next guy is the one that nobody likes, but tape is tape. He wins, and that's Jordan Morgan. He's 6'5", 311 pounds, but he's got 32 and 7/8 inch arms. But if you're looking at it, he's only an inch and a quarter shorter than guys like Guyton. So he's got shorter arms. Some people project him as a guard, but for me, he's the best athlete on tape when it comes side to side. He's explosive, and he's a little bit too aggressive at times, but like we saw on the tape on Kingsley, I'd rather somebody be a little bit more aggressive and hit you at the line than let you fall into Mahomes' lap and be re-anchoring in the pocket. I love how aggressive he is. He's great against stunts and speed rush, and he holds up well against power. Like if you watch his tape with stunts, and I know we saw in the playoffs how I think which team was it that was hitting us with stunts where they were rolling the defensive end over the defensive tackle, hooking us.
Was it the Ravens game? Are you talking about playoffs?
Yeah, those are Ravens. They were getting a lot.
Yeah,
of
the one we
pressure on
kicked to like 6 or 7 field goals because
Yeah.
they kept doing it and we couldn't stop it. Does he remind you a little bit at all? Because I haven't watched much tape on him, but he's my third lineman for us. Does he remind you of like a Mitchell Schwartz a little bit?
He does, but he reminds me he's got the speed of like Eric Fisher. Being able to beat those speed rushes, pace them all the way 10 yards downfield behind the quarterback. But
yeah, nobody ever made it around him on the edge. Eric Fisher was really good about that. He had a lot of downsides here and there in the beginning, but he got really good at never letting those guys bend around him. And that's what we need on his left side.
But and the other thing about Jordan Morgan is his IQ of reading a defense pre-snap. He is probably the best one that I've watched on tape in the last 4 or 5 years at diagnosing those little over-unders and stunts on blitzes. And he will be able to roll under with him and then meet back at the line of scrimmage again. That's probably the one thing that's not talked about when you hear people talking about O-linemen is their ability to play up against stunts. But for him, that's one thing that stood out on tape for me is like, I've never seen somebody that would know what the defender's going to do, beat him under the guard, and then back to the line of scrimmage again, and is already pushing you back downfield. His IQ is good. It's that of like Schwartz or Fisher to where he's one step ahead of the defense. If they think they're going to get you with a stunt like that, he's rolling under and he's hitting you at the line, and you're like, well, damn, he read that. So I know people talk about his arm length and stuff like that, but he just wins. I mean, every rep that I see of him, he wins. So I can't say that he's going to only be a guard at the next level because the tape shows otherwise. The tape shows even against high competition, he's still winning at left tackle, even with the arm length.
Yeah.
He's got those T-Rex arms.
He's got those T-Rex arms, but he's got the veracity of a T-Rex too.
Right.
That man attacked off the snap.
and he's got the versatility, dude. I think he can play left guard and left tackle as well. So I mean, it just
I think a lot of
depends on.
people forgot
Go
that
ahead.
we lost Allegretti. I feel like a lot of people forgot about like losing Allegretti. Our sorry, my background's not working well, but we need someone that can play guard and can play tackle. I think that should be our first pick as lineman, even if it's in the second round. We need somebody that's going to be like who's our left guard right now? I'm blanking.
Tooney.
Tooney, yeah, we're going to need a Tooney in a year or two. That we need to have Tooney train up.
He has the IQ of somebody like Tooney. He is one of the smartest at diagnosing blitzes that I have seen from an offensive lineman. He's, like I said, he's always a step ahead of the defense. And that's what we say about Tooney, too. He's probably one of the most intelligent guards in the league.
What?
What is that?
Talking to me?
Sorry.
So, I guess we can get into my number 4 on the list, which is a guy that I've seen go a lot higher than I would feel comfortable, and that's Tyler Guyton. I mean, he's 6'7", 322, has a 34.125 arm length, which isn't that long. Like, he's only like an inch and a half shorter than Morgan. But for me, he's got great tape at right tackle. But that's just it. It's at right tackle. Orlando had great tape at right tackle. He's got injury history. He's only played 50% of his snaps in college. In his last 2 years, he only played right tackle. But
he played 5 years in college, right?
I think, but 1 year, I think he only played like one game. But I know he had Anton Harrison on the left side. But the fact his last 2 years that he's played right tackle, to me, seems like you would be wasting a first-round pick on an experiment like we did with Orlando, moving him from the right side to the left, plus that injury history. He's never played more than half a season. That's a lot. He's got the size. He's got the tape. He's got the athleticism. He's got the strength. He's got the strength first. He doesn't have the speed. But to me, I just worry about his durability. Everybody talked about Mekhi Becton, about how great his tape was. We knew his injury history coming in, which is very similar to Guyton's. And what happened with Mekhi?
Do you know what was his injuries? Because I didn't follow him at all at Oklahoma.
I didn't look. I looked at games played and never made it through more than half a season.
Okay. I will say, he talked about Anton Harrison, and Harrison was a guy I think that he played left in college, but then the Jags moved him back to right. So I'm not sure how much that weighs with how much stock we put into Guyton's play time in Oklahoma. But I mean, it sounds like he's a solid right tackle.
And he's did you already mention he was teammates with Wanye and Creed? Yeah. I don't know. Like, are you saying that you're a little more worried that we might get him, but you're not too high on him?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that there could be a relationship there, but I still think I'm not too high on him just because to me it kind of doesn't make sense. Like, he's played right, and now you're really looking for a left, and you're gonna transition him. Are you gonna transition him to left when he's played right predominantly his whole career? And then a guy who left school last year and now got into the league, and now he's switched back to right. It just kind of seems like, why wouldn't they do with him or something like that?
A lot of people have Guyton ahead of Karan and Kingsley. I don't, for that reason, because I think A, he could end up being moved to end up staying at right tackle somewhere. B, it could be an Orlando Brown situation where he gets to a team he wants to play left tackle, but he's a better right tackle. And then the injury concerns, like he's never made it through more than half of a season. And if we're talking about finding the long-term option to protect Mahomes' blind side, the worst thing you can do is start with somebody that can't stay healthy.
Give me Karan.
I'm with that.
But we'll go to number 5 now, which was, I think,
Patrick Paul.
Oh, was that Obi's favorite? Patrick Paul.
Yeah,
Patrick.
He's
Talk about
6'7",
a big guy.
36.25-inch arm length.
Oh, did he?
Huge. He's violent. He's got a high IQ. Probably the top O tackle on tape that you will see against a bull rush and against power rush. You would not move in him. You try to bull rush him, he's going to make you look stupid. You're going to end up getting pancaked like
He's a brick wall.
double team by.
I love these guys with 36-inch arms, man. I mean, that's 36-inch arms.
He's
Now-
massive.
Here's
man.
my-
And that's, I know people don't put a lot into RAS score, but that's insane. I mean, like, I know it's more for defenders for me, or like DBs and linebackers. Like Leo Chenal scoring like a 9.9 was insane, and you can see it on the field. But like for a lineman scoring a 9.75, I don't know. He jumped on tape as far as like our offense. He's my perfect fit for us if we get one in the first.
Here's my downfall of him. That we need somebody more of that Eric Fisher clone style that's better against the speed rush. We had Orlando, which was great against the bull rush, but couldn't handle the speed rush. And that's he's a bigger version of Orlando, a little bit more athletic, but he's not very good against the speed rush. If you watch from the tape that I saw, that he tries to overcompensate. He knows he doesn't have a quick first step. He's big. He's a little bit slower side to side. And so a lot of times he'll get caught trying to overcurve, trying to over pursue, and then leave open the cutback lane. And he's not athletic.
Yeah, you're right.
enough.
That's Orlando Brown Jr. 2.0 for sure. We don't. I mean, I hope that they can coach that out of him, but you've kind of changed my mind over the last hour. I've been looking at guys like Tyler Guyton and Jordan Morgan because I want us to have another Mitchell Schwartz type, Eric Fisher type tackle who will not get beat by Von Millers, or because we need someone, to kind of come back and do that. So I think you changed my mind. He might not be my number one anymore.
Yeah. The one thing that he's really bad about is redirecting. And once he's going one way, he is not able to stop. He's a mountain. He's not able to stop and immediately go back the other way. And double moves get him a lot. I watched him get beat on several double moves on a speed rush to the outside. Then one was a cutback and the other one was a spin move off of the speed rush. And he plays with no knee bend. So it's really hard for him to flip his hips and change direction. And when we're in the AFC West like we are, where we've got people like Max Crosby and teams that are trying to figure out how to stack pass rushers to get to Mahomes. And a lot of them are speed rushers like Bosa was, and like Max Crosby. I don't want somebody that big with that little athleticism moving side to side, protecting the blind side. I think that we would be a similar situation that we were with Orlando, and he would get beat a lot on those speed rushes. And then as soon as he starts selling out for rushes like Orlando was, they get hit with that cutback, and then they're right in Mahomes' lap.
Yeah, that's some good points, man. I actually agree there. And like for me, I feel like Wanye was serviceable. So like as much as I've been kind of gearing myself for this here, that we might go and grab one at 32. I feel like we're going to take a chance in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. I don't feel like we're going to go first round unless it's somebody who absolutely shouldn't be there. And I feel like we're going to stay true to the board.
I said if we take Quran at 32, it would be a reach. But it would be where just say no to him. But I don't think Quran will be there in the second round when we pick, and he is my number one. So if you've got to get him at 32 and reach 10 spots earlier than what he would have went, I'm okay with that. If that's
that kind of backs up my idea that the Chiefs might do what we should have done last year, which is trade out of 32 and like get like a 40 pick and then pick our guy there, and then grab maybe an extra pick to pair up to move up to get a guy, because that's how we got Shamari Connor. Just using a pick we didn't need.
The sweet spot for me would be either trade back out of the 32 pick, or if we're going to go 1-2, get receiver in the first round, and then use that future third to move up in the second round, mid-second round, and get somebody like Quran or Kingsley.
I mean, we did a mock draft the other day, and I think it was we moved from 64 to 57 with the Packers. And there was a lot of O tackles left there even. Again, it just depends on how the board falls, but that's only moving up what is that for? 7 spots. So that's not
Mhm.
that high of a pick comp. That's not even a third that it would take. That's probably likely a 5th or a 6th to move up those spots. So I think there are options still to move there. I will defend Jeremy. I don't want to tackle in the first round. It's what I started the offseason saying. I started the offseason by saying I want to tackle first round because, or it's just at least what I think Veach is going to end up doing. And as this offseason has progressed, and I've seen how we've addressed certain positions, the fact we haven't signed another wide receiver yet, I'm like, it's going to be really hard to find value at 32 for anything other than one of those wide receivers, especially because I personally think there's going to be options at 32. I think you're going to have an option of a Texas wide receiver, Keon or Ladd. Like you're going to have an option in one of those 3. Obviously, 2 are not where I would want them to be, but I mean, it also depends on what happens with Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell. So
It's really how the draft board falls. I agree, Max.
Yeah, and we could see a run. We could see a run of tackles early. We could see a run of QBs early. We could see we could see a run of wide receivers early. So it really depends on what happens with those 3 positions. At least that's my opinion. As well as edge. If some teams go defense instead of attacking as another weapon, specifically the Bills and Ravens right in front of us, who are both in need of defense, but also could very well take a wide receiver. That'll all depend on it as well. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out, but I want a wide receiver. We only have 2 wide receivers under contract next year. Technically, we have 3 if you count KT, but we're not bringing KT back on a $14.5 million contract next year. So our only 2 wide receivers under contract next year are Rice and Sky. So you have to get this wide receiver core younger on rookie deals, at least just someone else to be there for 4-5 years. And that 5th-year option is so important with a wide receiver more than a no tackle, I think.
I feel like us signing Marquise Brown is pretty telling. It tells me we're going to draft a wide receiver because, like, you put him on a 1-year deal. You're basically saying, if you can do what we need you to do and this rookie can come in and learn, bye-bye. Like, good job. You got your contract. See you later. So I feel like we're definitely going to get a wide receiver, or I want to get a wide receiver in the first.
See, I'm a little bit opposite on that. I think if you do get a wide receiver in the first, right, I'm with you on that. I definitely want that wide receiver in the first for that 5th-year option. But essentially what you're telling me, if you go out there and you get a Keon Coleman, or if you get the Mitchell to fall, right? If you do that, then you're telling me you got the 2 big wide receivers, one that can play on the outside in X, and the other guy who is Holiday. Holy cow. Hollywood.
You good?
My brain's starting to shut off. Hollywood.
Do you take your vitamins today?
No, I didn't. Old man syndrome here. If you take that Keon Coleman, that Mitchell type wide receiver that can play outside in the X, you're essentially telling me you've got 2 rookie receivers on a rookie contract, one with a 5th-year option. That gives you the flexibility to maybe sign Hollywood on an extension in that room because you got 2 guys on a rookie deal. So if he comes in and balls out and plays well, then you can sign him to maybe a 3-year deal for some nice guaranteed money and stuff like that, make him happy because you've got 2 receivers in the room that are working off of rookie contracts, one on a 5th-year option. So it depends on who they signed or who they draft. So
it also really depends on what we do with this next 27 mil that we have right now.
Right.
Because I think if you are going to want to bring someone like Hollywood back on a 3-year contract, you've got to get one of these 3 guys figured out before next year with Creed, Trey, or Bolton. You have to get one of their contracts figured out this season if you want to be able to do that.
Right. So
but I agree with you.
Yeah, like on Obi's point, like if they come out and they get Worthy, then Hollywood's gone. Because you can't have both those guys, those 2 type of receivers in. You're going to have to, train up Worthy and then say, hey, Hollywood, thanks for everything you did for us this season. Appreciate you. Go out and get your bag.
Yeah, I feel like we would have already signed him to a 3-year deal if we were planning on getting a tackle in the first round. I mean, as much as I'm fine with any move we make, but I'm kind of more excited for the mid rounds, for the interior line guys that we were talking about, like a cerebral center guard. I think I have him on my list here. I'll bring him up here in a little bit, but I'm excited for the middle to late round.
Can I sneak one thing in? Steven, you seem like a great guy, family man. Very good football guy. Throw that mock draft away. Johnny Wilson is probably the worst in this class.
Now,
And definitely going to probably be a position
as
move.
Stephen A. Smith would say, he's a Popeye's biscuit away from playing tight end.
Yeah.
Yo.
I don't know if I would say, Steven, I would say go watch Steve Smith's video about Johnny Wilson, and it'll probably change your mind.
Now,
yeah, I'm good on Johnny Wilson, especially because he snaked the Oregon Ducks.
Now let's get to the last one on the list here. My number 6, Blake Fisher. Do you have any tape on?
Be quick on him. I don't have anything about him. That's D-Mac's guy.
Okay. The thing with
I've
him,
got somebody to pull up here that's in the offensive guard room. So go ahead. Finish up on him.
He's 6'5", 310 with 34.375 inch arms. But for his being 310 pounds, he's got the lowest RAS score out of all of them. So that shows that his athletic ability is a little bit more subpar than the rest of them. He's got great technique and hand fighting, and is more of a power run guy. Even at 310, he's better moving forward than backwards, but he's horrible off the snap. If you watch the tape on him, he is consistently the last one off the snap. Now, we don't have to worry about any false start penalties like we do with Jawan because he's never moving on time. But being the last one off, he struggles to try to match up against speed rushes. And then he panics and tries to overcorrect. If he's too late on the snap, I've noticed that he'll panic and he'll try to overcorrect and completely miss or whiff on a person. So he's got very little flip or hip flexibility and very little ability to redirect after his first move. So as long as he gets a hold of you off the snap, he's got great technique and he's going to hold on to you. But his problem is his late get-offs, and then his ability to move from side to side really limits him.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, maybe we'll hear a little bit more on this guy on Tell the Truth on Wednesday nights with DG, D-Mac, and CJ. Maybe you can ask him that question, DG, to go a little bit more on why he likes him. All right, so my special little guy here, and then I'll let Obi finish off with his special guard. This is probably not going to surprise anybody, but I wanted to get your opinion on this guy, Corey. But I think this would be an awesome replacement for a right guard, just in case we lose him. Corporate BB! Let's do the dog. This dude is an absolute dog at guard, in my opinion. From what I've seen with him, you take him and you draft this dude and you plop this homeboy right into that Trey Smith slot on the right-hand side and let Trey walk with a amazing career here in Kansas City with some Super Bowls. And thank you for fixing our line after a very dismal Super Bowl. Welcome to Kansas City, Mr. Cooper Beebe. What do you guys think of that one?
Well,
I haven't seen much on him.
What?
He's kind of staying with Morgan. He's got the little T-Rex arms, but he's
guard.
very
Yeah, definitely an interior offensive lineman for sure. But that's a good RAS score. Where are you thinking he would be going? Like mid rounds?
Oh, he's a guard.
I believe he's third. I believe he's third.
Yeah,
I believe he's late
we
second.
got him in like third or fourth rounds in mocks.
Well, I can probably I could see him. I mean, I feel like Andy Reid and Andy Heck can pretty much I feel like they scout really well. So we're gonna have to pay a ton of money to hopefully not to Trey Smith. And I think we need to look for a replacement now.
Yeah,
because I mean, guard money went absolutely ape. You know what? So it's like I don't. Sorry if I cuss on accident.
You're good.
But yeah, mine are like 5th round, 6th round, 7th rounds. There's a couple names. I don't think you went over Christian Jones, did you?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Christian Jones, Texas, 6'6", 321 pounds. He played right tackle all 4 years, but he's like they comped him to like, which is funny, Wanya Morris and Dylan Parham. But he's probably like a 5th or 6th rounder, maybe 4th. And then Delmar Glaze. Did we talk about him yet? International? Okay, check this out. He's 6'5", 315. He's the T-Rex build that me and you are both talking about that we kind of need. 315 pounds. So that's I think that's the guy that he ran a 40-yard dash and like the same as Patty. He has the same 40-yard dash as Patrick Mahomes. Take a look at him. See if you can find anything on Delmar Glaze, DELMARGLAZE. See if you got any videos for me of Delmar. This is somebody I could see us picking in like 5th, 6th, 7th round.
Yeah.
It's the same way we did. What did we get Trey in? 5th?
6th.
6th? So Delmar,
Well,
to me, I feel like is somebody that we could pull in. He's an interior offensive lineman, very cerebral, but I didn't get much on his injury history or anything. So that's about the only other he got. You named off all my other linemen, and then Javon Foster. We went over that earlier. That's the guy I think we should go after if it's a 3rd or 4th round pick.
Yeah. Do some research on BB. This dude's a dog. He can step
I'm on
in.
it right now on my phone. What BB? What's his first name again?
Cooper BB.
Cooper BB. Yeah.
He's listen. I don't know a lot about offensive linemen. That's not a position that I watch a ton. Cooper BB is a dog. Like
he reminds me of Creed Humphrey as a guard, like just nasty.
He's a nasty.
He looks like him, honestly. Like the way his body is and his fit. He looks. Yeah, he does look like Creed Smith in a guard. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we've had that conversation in spaces between DG, Max, and Corey and I, and over here in the last couple of weeks. Like, I think a very highly underrated draft pick is going to be a guard because you've got a guard that's getting ready to come up for a contract year next year. He has no option for a 5th year, and you just saw the NFL. They now have $200 million right guards. So I don't think that Kansas City is going to be able to afford Trey Smith even if they want him back. So you need to be able to replace that guard position now and do it this year probably to let him come in, get some reps, learn a little bit, because you're going to have Tooney going to be exiting the door probably in the next couple of years as well. So
he's really fast.
Yeah, he's a dog, man. He'll anchor right there in the middle, right side of that offensive line. He's a dog.
Yeah, Cooper's a guy I think that there's a lot of NFL rosters that he can get drafted to and he can start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys got me sold. I like him already.
Yeah. His RAS scores were really nice. And listen, I know a lot of people are like, oh, RAS scores this. Listen, all the guys that Veach has drafted have had really good RAS scores.
Yeah, my brother and I have been talking about this for a couple of years. Like, Veach likes his guys athletic. I don't know if it's Andy or if it's Veach, but they like a high RAS score. I mean, that's just how they've always been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for when they paid Orlando Brown Jr. And thank God, do you guys remember when we almost paid him and he almost signed that contract? And then when he didn't, we all kind of were like, oh, thank God.
Now the Bengals got to deal with that.
I've always said it. You can't teach speed and athleticism. You can teach footwork and technique.
Well, just imagine this. If you would have signed Orlando Brown to your left tackle spot, guys, you wouldn't have got Chris Jones back.
Nope.
I can't even think about it, honestly. I just remember the Lions game, seeing him sitting up there and being like, is this what it's going to be like? Like, is this what we have to look forward to? It made me realize, honestly, that he is the 3rd part of the on-field trio. And I don't think I love Chris Jones, but I always felt like he was lazier than most superstars before we got Joe Cullen. And Joe Cullen has pulled out the dog in him. Like, you see him running down running backs on screenplays now. So
not only that, I also think that's veteran leadership. I think when he was younger, he just relied off of his natural ability. Now that he's that leader, he's kind of got that voice, and he's using it. He's using his play on the field to say, hey, I'm giving 100%. Y'all give 100%. Like, get after that dude. Like, I think that he's grown into that veteran leadership position, and that's also helped him up his intensity and giving 100% on every play.
Yeah,
I agree, man. I agree 100%.
Yeah, Toon, I don't think he was saying that the defense was bad against the Lions. I think he was just quoting on that video we see of Chris Jones in the press box or the sky box, and he's just looking on the field like, like just pale face, straight face. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up the offensive tackles for Arrowhead PM and who we think that we can get. Now, obviously, this does not bar Veach to trade up, right? It doesn't bar him from doing that. And I know our boy Ryan Tracy over there, they had an episode where he did a crazy take move, and they moved up to number 8 to get somebody in particular whose dad used to play in Kansas City.
I think it was number 9.
No, they traded up to 8.
Oh, okay. I thought it was with the Bears.
Over 6.
No,
Are we? I mean, Joe Alt's going in the top 10, right?
Yeah.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
what,
I don't
that's what we're
think
talking
Joe
about.
Alt, I don't think Joe Alt gets past the Chargers.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I know Harbaugh. I know how he operates. He's going to want to build the trenches like strong. He's going to want to start with the trenches, and then he can work his way out. I think he knows that he's got some players that are going to drop in the second and third round as far as offensive weapons and stuff like that. But I honestly think don't be surprised if the Chargers go out and get Joe Alt and then another offensive guard in the second or third to try to really build up that offensive line.
That would be
Hey.
an added offensive line getting Alton and BB.
Oh my
Hey,
gosh!
anything,
Shut up, Corey.
anything to keep Malik Neighbors out of LA, I'm here for. I don't want to
Yeah.
see Malik Neighbors in a Chargers uniform.
Who was the guy they moved up for?
Joe Alt.
Oh,
Yeah.
they wow.
I think it was like this year's first, second, third, and next year's first.
And next year's first.
Ow.
Yeah, and a sixth, or no, and a seventh, and then we got a sixth in the first back.
They like all that much?
Yeah,
Alt's amazing. Alt is really, 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 really good. Like,
It-
but he's the top of the class in my opinion.
I don't
me-
think we can afford to.
No, you can't afford. Listen, we had this conversation. Here's my opinion. I think Obi and I talked about this on the draft in the. No, we have our fullback.
Don't be a
Um,
killer.
Obi and I talked about this. You cannot get, or maybe it was you, me, or you, Maxon, and Obi. I think we all
I was
talked
there. I
Yeah.
remember it.
You cannot give up the draft capital for the next 2 years. You
Mm.
can't.
Mhm.
We are coming into a situation where the last 2 drafts that we've had have been so good and so important to this back-to-back Super Bowl run that you're going to have to start paying those guys. So over the next 2 drafts, you're going to have to hit on some of these draft picks, majority of them, because
Or it's
you're
going
not
to be hurtful losses, like absolutely hurtful losses. Like we won't just lose Trey Smith, but in a year from there, we may lose Creed too. So like we've got to have some leverage on the offensive line, or guys are gonna bankrupt us.
That's
Yeah.
why it's not just called drafting. It's drafting and developing. You've got to be able to use some of those mid-round picks and later-round picks and develop them. You can't just rely on just drafting replacements for everybody. You got to be able to hit on late-round picks like Beach has and develop corners and some of those key position groups. Development is more important to me than draft picks are, honestly. You only get one first-round draft pick a year, and that's really the only guaranteed starter or superstar right off the bat if you're picking early in the first. And usually there's only 10 to 15 of those guaranteed superstars in a year. Teams are built on how you develop players. Like Beach taking late-round picks and turning them into secondary pieces. Like Snead was what, a 4th-round pick? And then you've third,
Fourth.
and then you got I thought
He
it
was
was
a
4th.
4th-round pick.
Yeah,
fourth.
Williams and Watson, which was a 7th or 6th and a UDFA. So
No, both of them were picked in the same draft. So
yeah, so like I said, it's key isn't just drafting where you have draft picks at. You've got to be able to develop those mid to late round picks, and that's just as important as anything you do in the first couple rounds.
That's
Yeah,
why
that's
I
fine.
won't be surprised if we grab 2 defensive backs in this draft with all these picks. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it won't surprise me. Even though we have pretty much the room, he's not going to pass up a DB he likes. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that is why I don't like making big moves with a lot of capital to move up for players unless you're going for your quarterback of the future.
yeah, again, going back to what I was saying, you have to be able to get guys with these draft picks. You're gonna have to develop because you have Patrick Mahomes and now Chris Jones. This is why it's so important for you not to go out there and spend a ton of freaking money in free agency. So you wanted Chris Jones back. You got him back. You got him back for $7 million and $34 million next year, $37 million after that. So you've got to hit on these draft picks, and the next 2 years are going to be crucial because the last two drafts that we've had, those guys are going to be coming up for contract here pretty quick. So, in my opinion, any kind of a trade up, guys, I just don't see Veach doing it if he's going to give up a lot of draft picks because we can't afford it. This is.
I feel like if anything, we'll trade back. It's more likely we trade back just to get a little bit more, and than to trade up, in my opinion.
Right. So anyway, moving on from that, we are going to wrap this up here. We have a big special announcement that we're gonna get off here on the podcast. So starting next week on the 6th and April 13th and April 20th, we are going to start a series called, what is it, Max?
Rivals,
because you came up with it. So it's going to be Rivals. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to have a fan on for each team in the AFC West, and we're going to bring them in and we're going to talk to them about their team and how they're doing in the offseason and what their draft is going to look like, what they think that they're going to do, and just kind of give a little update on each team in our division as we head into the draft. So this will take us all the way into the week of the draft. So kind of give us a really good mindset of where the rest of the AFC West in. So when we watch the draft, we'll kind of understand where these guys might be heading. So next week, the 6th, we are going to have the Denver Broncos are going to be up first. I know, DJ, I'm sorry, but my brother-in-law who runs the podcast, big old podcast network out there for Ireland, he is going to be joining us. His name is Colin Cronin, and he is part of the Irish podcast, Irish NFL show. So he's going to be joining us from Ireland. And he's going to be talking about the Denver Broncos, kind of giving us his opinion and the update on the Denver Broncos. And then following that, I think we were doing the Chargers next, right, DG? You had a guy?
Yeah, I'm working on that.
Okay. And then after that, obviously, on the 20th, the week before the draft, we are having the Las Vegas Raiders. So that should be fun. Oh, Steezy. What up, Steezy? Don't be a coward, V's dropped fullback. Bruh. He's got his fullback, man.
He's a rugby player.
We just got his rugby player. That's our fullback. So anyway, be on the lookout for those announcements, for those shows, the promos on that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we keep the shit talking to a minimum on those shows because it might get a little hairy. So anyway, Obi, I appreciate you coming out here, man, giving us an extra voice on the matter in the offensive tackle room. As always, DG, appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming over here from Tell the Truth. And my boy Max down here, always helping out with the edits. Make sure you follow his account. Make sure you all follow all these accounts up here for the latest news. Corey down here, he's always got some draft analysis. Obi's over here, he's always got the draft stuff going on and some of the current players and stuff like that. He's got some.
I'll be putting up some videos. You know me, I post a lot of videos.
Oh yeah,
I'll be putting up some highlight reels of the guys we talked about tonight.
Yeah, that's what's up. So make sure you follow DG over here. Make sure you follow Max for all of his videos and his shorts and stuff that he does. And with that, guys, we're going to close this down. Thanks for coming out. It's a great show. Appreciate you. We will see you next Saturday. Special time we'll be announcing. I think it's going to be 4:30, so it's going to be a little bit different of a time frame next week for that Denver show because he's going to be coming to us live from Ireland. So with that, make sure you guys pull up for Tell the Truth and Kingdom Cast. We will holler at y'all later.
See you guys.